everyone, this is Star Zenith 33, Laura Francesca here talking to you guys on the podcast here at Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube, and what is that other iHeartRadio station? I just, I tend to, I say, you know what, let me bring it up too, because normally, I am on there as well, but there's many platforms where you can listen to podcasts. But anyway, I am here drinking a watermelon spicy drink here. It's just a refreshing drink for summer. And I said, what better time to be optimistic and talk about the energies and what is going on now that the moon is in Taurus. Okay, so let's jump in there and let's talk about it. So thank you for following the podcast here and listening to what the heck is going on with these type of energies that we are going through. Okay, we're almost done with the FIFA. I think we got about a week and a half more, or almost 2 weeks of FIFA, and it is over. And right now I think baseball season. And so, and I know that because my neighbors were looking at the Dodgers, the Los Angeles Dodgers, and it looks like they're playing. And for those that are listening around the world, this is baseball season here in the United States. And, it's baseball season and everybody goes out and watches baseball, right? So I'm going to be talking about the Taurus moon. Let me just take a sip here because I am thirsty. God, that is so good. And so right now the moon is in Taurus, and so it is conjuncting Chiron. So this wounded healer asteroid of our wounds, our childhood wounds, okay, that are creeping up in our adult life, right? And they will show up in many ways, okay? It's in the sign of Taurus, so it's going to happen in our self-worth and our acceptance of ourselves and all of that good stuff. So we're going to dive into that. And so when the moon in Taurus, when it comes together with Chiron in Taurus, okay, it's been in Aries for a number of years. It just jumped into Taurus to give us a little sneak peek. It's going to leave around September, and then it's going to come back in 2027, early 2027, and it's going to go for a full 7 years. Okay. So right now it's giving us a sneak peek, and it's challenging us, and it's also inviting us, okay, to slow down, because we know Taurus is an animal that's pretty slow. It's a big animal, but it's a serious animal as well. Okay, because it rules Wall Street, it rules money, it rules investments, and it rules supermarkets and food and all of that, right? Real estate is huge when it comes to Taurus. And because it rules the second house of wealth, okay, a lot of people that are Taurus, or they're ox in Chinese astrology, they're worth a lot of money. Okay, I'm an ox. And I do have Taurus as well. I'm a Taurus rising. So that is the face that I put out there that people perceive. And but I'm not here to talk about me, okay? We're here to talk about the collective and how it's inviting us to slow down and to listen to the places within us that where we crave safety, okay? Acceptance and self-worth. So there's these old wounds around money, our stability, our love life, of feeling good enough or not good enough can surface, okay? And it's not here to punish us. It's just here to heal us with greater compassion. So we have to be more compassionate about ourselves. One thing that I am doing is I'm taking walks. I'm taking power walks, right? To beautiful places around my vicinity. And so I go where there's flowers. I go where every time I go, I'm always seeing dogs. People are walking dogs. And luckily they were not barking today. So it was a good day. They were not barking at me. They usually bark at me. Okay. And I think that has to do with being an ox. I don't know what it is. I don't know if you are an ox and you're listening to this podcast. I don't know if dogs bark at you. And if they do, it's because they're threatened by you. There's something about your energy of being an ox that dogs will, bark and stuff like that. But then there are some docile dogs that will not bark at you. Very loving dogs and so forth. Um, but usually it's because maybe they're intimidated by you, because that's really what really happens, So at the same time, we have also Jupiter in Leo. Okay. And so it's forming a square to this alignment. And so what it's doing is it's amplifying our desire to be seen, to be recognized, to be validated, because we know Leo is ruled by the sun. And so it is where we are illuminated. It is where we shine, okay, where we stand out. And so that square, that challenge to Jupiter and Leo, it is about being recognized, being validated for who we are, right? For what we wear, right? And today is so interesting because today I ordered from Amazon. I seen them in TikTok first. This is what I do. I go on TikTok, and to get it faster, I will go to Amazon and see if they have it too. And since I am an Amazon Prime, I like to take advantage of, if I'm a Prime member, I like to take advantage of it. I'm the type, if I go to the gym, I'm not just going to pay for gym membership. I'm going to try to go every day. I like to, get my ROI in everything that I do in my investment. And sometimes I am pretty patient with, getting my ROI. It just depends what it is. But, if I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to try to go at least 3 or 4 times a week, because I don't like wasting money like that. And so I just say, if I'm an Amazon Prime member, I could just get the product like the next day, right? Or within 48 hours, right? And the only thing with TikTok is you have to wait like 2 weeks to get the product. And sometimes it depends, how fast I want the product. But Amazon, I get it right away with Prime. So that's the benefit of that. So, you know, um, I don't know why I talked about that, but oh yeah, my glasses. Let me take another sip of that. Mm. So I bought these futuristic glasses. They're so cute. They're pink, and then they're very glossy and very futuristic. Okay, and I've never bought some of I think I did buy some, but they were not UVV. Okay, they're the kind that you just buy them at like maybe Chinatown or something like that. But and they don't have UVV. They're just like what, 9.99 or something like that in Chinatown. But um I have had one of those big ones, and just to look cool, right? But when I seen they were trending in TikTok, these were UVV, and then there were a lot of reviews. And I think it's all this Aquarius happening in Pluto, and then the North Node is going to enter Aquarius as well pretty soon, okay, for 2 years. So there's going to be a lot of futuristic things that we're going to start looking different. We're going to want to stand out and wear big gigantic glasses like that, like very futuristic, and doing our hair different colors. And especially millennials and Gen Z's, they like to experiment a lot, and there's nothing wrong with it. Also, older people like to do it too. And it's especially if you're Aquarius. If you're Aquarius, you like all that funky, funky colors. And I've had my hair turquoise. Okay, I had my hair turquoise. Oh my God, it was like a buzz kind of cut. um it does not look like me. I don't know what was going. I think I went blonde, but then I bleached my hair, and then it was kind of falling off, and then I just said, well, I'm just gonna color it turquoise, maybe it'll look different. I can be very experimental, okay, when it comes to fashion and everything. I'm not afraid, okay? People are afraid to, like, color their hair. It's just you only live once. So I like to experiment a lot. So I'm always guinea pigging, and I'm always trying this product, trying this, you know, and so yeah. So I've been turquoise. I tried different things, but in the North Node in Aquarius, we're going to start seeing a whole lot of that, of just experimenting with our looks and how we look, and just fun times, a lot of technology and so forth. But I bought me those glasses. I seen them in text. I was like, say, you know what? Let me see if they have them Amazon. They did, and so I ordered them because I get them the next day. And so I'm glad I got them because they have UVV and UV. It's called UVA and UVB. And what they do is they clear out the glare of the sun, and you can see better. And it's also good recommended if you're an athlete or if you ride a bike, or it could even be an e-bike, or a scooter or something, and or when you're hiking or when you're running, especially because right now is really hot. So, but thank God we've been blessed. It hasn't been as hot like other countries, thank God. But it's starting to get hot. Okay, I know it is because I'm starting to get tanned, and I tan really fast. Okay, really fast, and so I was noticing. I was like, oh wow, I'm getting tanned, and I even yesterday I was only out, walking a little bit, and then I went to the my restroom, and then I looked at the back of my shoulder, and it was all red. And I was like, no wonder I felt like a little heat rash or something. Like I felt like something itchy on my back. Um, and and I was like, let me touch it if it's like warm or hot or something. And then I noticed and it was all red in the back. I was like, oh my God, no wonder, no wonder it was kind of like aching a little bit. So I just put some cold cream on there, and with some gel, and it kind of, dissipated and it went away. But I noticed, I was like, I bet you anything that I probably got some kind of burn in my back. And so that's how it starts, you get a burn and then all of a sudden you're tanning, you know. But yeah, so I bought the glasses and I started wearing them today. They look cool. They look so cool. And then you kind of forget you're wearing them. And I know that these Latinos were looking at me and they were kind of smiling and laughing at the same time. And I noticed this one Latino just kept staring at me, and just like laughing, not making fun of me, just kind of like, oh, that's so funny, kind of like, because there's no females really wearing those type of glasses around my neighborhood there. And I just kept walking, like with confidence and just, kept walking. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, the glasses, and then I said to myself, are they really that big? I mean, they are bigger than usual sunglasses, but they look so cool because they're so futuristic, So they're a little bit bigger than sunglasses, and they're very shiny. Okay, very Aquarius futuristic glasses. And I looked at myself in as I was walking towards the downtown area, and they had, the shadow of the building. And I looked at myself and like, whoa, the glasses are big. And I'm like, but it's okay. That's fine. Whatever, I mean, I didn't buy them to really to stand out. I bought them because they had UVV and stuff, but also to stand out too. You know what I mean? Just to be cool. But, you know, I didn't think I was gonna get that much attention, and yeah, people were just treating me different. I noticed that they were treating me different. There were some girls that were like, "Oh God," Um, cause I went to go buy me a Subway and stuff like that. There were like these Latina ladies, You just gotta ignore it. Those kind of, you know, um, those kind of. They didn't say comments or nothing, but I knew they were talking Spanish, and I'm a Latina myself. I'm Mexican, and I don't know. They just were talking Spanish, thinking that I probably didn't know Spanish. I look Latina. But anyway, it was just, but they didn't say anything bad. It was just like, oh, ya viene, like, or something like that, something to do with, or la vistes, and kind of stuff, you know what I mean? Like, and I was like, whatever. So, I mean, you're gonna get those kind of things to stand out. I mean, I don't care. I don't care about stuff like that. As long as they're not being rude or nothing. They were not being rude. It was just, that kind of thing of, when you see somebody like trying to show off, but everybody's showing off right now. So we should not be ashamed of showing off or nothing. This is hot summer, okay? And everybody's pointing, especially with Jupiter and Leo. Okay, everybody's standing out. So that was my experience today with the glasses. And so now I know I'm getting attention, so I'm going to wear them every day. I like how they look on me. They look really cool. So that's Jupiter and Leo. Okay, as it squares. Okay, this Taurus moon. The moon has to do with females. Okay, and it's female energy. Okay, the moon, and when it's in Taurus, is ruled by Venus, so it's very Venetian. So it could be your mother as well. It could be other females. Okay, it could be a business, a restaurant, right? As it comes together with Chiron, something to heal there. Maybe, some people, they don't feel confident enough with themselves that, they will probably criticize others, for showing off too much or something. It could be an example like that. So, anyway, as it squares Jupiter and Leo, and we want to be seen and recognized, we might feel torn between like proving ourselves to the world and honoring what our heart truly needs. Okay, so this tension, it asks an important question. Are you seeking approval, or are you building genuine confidence from within? Right? And so for me, for example, for the glasses, I was not seeking approval. For me, I wanted to look cool, right? And I've seen a lot of examples, like in TikTok, it's very trendy in TikTok. Okay, a lot of millennials, a lot of young people, even older people, whoa, um, are using those glasses for summer. And it's a very trendy thing, and they look so cool. And that's the I like to experiment with trendy, um, whether fashion or anything like that. I don't like being boring. You know what I mean? And at least I can say, hey, I tried that, and maybe it didn't work for me, but okay, I tried something else, And so, are we seeking approval, or are we building genuine confidence from within? That's a question to ask. Okay. So in this episode, we're going to explore how this transit can reveal where pride masks pain, where overconfidence hides insecurity, and how embracing our authentic value can lead to lasting growth. So the greatest breakthrough doesn't come from performing for others, they come from healing the part of yourself that forgets its own worth. So sometimes we may forget our worth, and we need to heal that part of ourselves. And sometimes it will come with performing, and sometimes it will just naturally come through performing for others, right? Or let me wear these glasses just to see what people will think, would I stand out or something? And, maybe we need to heal that part of ourselves where we forget our own worth, or maybe we don't hear much of, oh, you look beautiful. Oh, those glasses are so cool. Or maybe you don't have friendships, right? That, can compliment you and so forth. And every time somebody compliments me, I say thank you. I'm always running into people, especially, I don't know what it is about older people, like older ladies. They always compliment me. Okay. And so, they just tell me like, oh, I like your bag. Oh, where did you get that? Oh, that looks so cute. Where did you buy that? And it's usually like older ladies, you know, and older ladies that want to be young, or they like my style for some reason, and I mix it up a lot, and so it could be something like that, and for me personally, when somebody likes what I have or what I'm wearing, I take that as a compliment and I say thank you, you know. And I do, and I will strike a conversation. I'm like, oh, well, I bought it here and this, and then, and we have like just random conversations with strangers, So anyway, and that's what could happen, our greatest breakthrough. Okay. It, it, it doesn't come from overperforming for others, and it's more about, honoring our worth. Okay. Remembering our worth And why these glasses, for example, make me feel worthy. They do. They make me feel cool. They make me feel young. They make me feel, although I am young, I mean, I'm not old, but, you know, a lot of the things that I wanted to do when I was younger, I couldn't do because either I had a lot of responsibilities and so forth. And I was one of those kids that grew up really fast, and couldn't be a kid. And then I found out in astrology that I'm a child in Aquarius, which means that when I was a child, I was Aquarius, but I was not allowed to be like an Aquarius. Okay, I had to mature, and I couldn't be rebellious or nothing or creative how I wanted to create. Um, Even like coloring books, you give a coloring book to a kid and then you tell the kid, oh, color here, and a lot of kids, some kids will color outside the lines. Okay. Some kids will color within the lines and not go out their boundaries of a coloring book. Right. So I was one of those childs that were raised to not color outside the lines, like very perfectionist. And so, but my inner child, which is Aquarius, wanted to color outside the lines, wanted to just go crazy on the coloring book, and I just couldn't. I was not allowed to do that, and that's a struggle. Okay, it's a struggle, especially when you have creative children, and they want to be creative and they're not allowed to, right? And that would be Saturn, rules and regulations, and that stifles creativity. Okay, you cannot become creative when there are rules. Okay, strict rules like that, you can't color outside the lines, you can't do this, and then what happens is that your creativity goes away, and then you don't become creative. And you need creativity, or you're going to have a creative block, and then you're not going to be able, you're going to be stealing from other people because you're not creative. But thank God we have Chat GPT now, right? So Chat GPT, can help you. AI can help you with that creative block to get a lot of ideas, right? Where you don't have to steal from people. And before we didn't have that. So now we do. And so as we unpack the spiritual wisdom of this Taurus moon and the Chiron's medicine and Jupiter's invitation to expand, okay, not through the ego, but through authentic self-worth. Okay. What can happen here is that our greatest abundance not only begins the moment we stop proving our worth, but the moment that we start believing in it. Okay. Believe in your worth. Okay. So let's jump in there in the chart here. Now that I said all of that, okay, let's see here. Take a sip here. Okay. So the moon in Taurus right now, as I mentioned, it is coming together with Chiron and is in the third house of communication. So it's perfect to communicate. Okay. This has to do with relationships, and the motto there is I think. Okay. So it includes anything to do with siblings. It has to do with your environment, your neighbors, okay, people you live nearby, any communication that has to do with writing and speaking, like podcasting, languages. It has to do with newspapers and the radio and the television, magazines, any mental equipment of a person. It has to do with anything logical and reasoning, okay? And that is where the moon in Taurus is, in the third house. Maybe you have to say something. Maybe you wanted to say something for a long time, because as it comes together with Chiron, it's something that hurts you. It's something that pains you. It's something that needs to be said, that needs to be confronted, that needs to be talked about. And you're voicing that, and you're saying, this is unfair, right? This is unfair, and I need to speak my piece, right? I need to talk about it. I need to say how I feel. And the moon rules our feelings. And Chiron is something that pains us. Okay. And it has to do with communication. Now, where the moon is in Taurus is at 4 degrees. 4 degrees has to do with real estate, families. It has to do with your environment. Um, it could be anything to do with also with control and structure. And maybe what you're voicing is that there's been too much control. There's been too much control, and you're not having it anymore, right? And it needs to be said at 4 degrees there. Also, I do have to say that the moon is coming together with the asteroid of Banks, okay? In the third house, I believe it's in the third house there too. Let me just, yeah, it is. In the third house of communication. Now, where this asteroid of Banks is, it has to do with loans and mortgages. It could even be Wall Street, trading, and anything like that. It's at 9 degrees of countries, anything international. It also has to do with higher learning. It has to do with travel. Okay. As the moon comes together with Banks, let me see what it's doing here. Okay, so the Banks is coming together with the moon, our emotions of how we feel when it comes to communication. Now, Banks is forming a square with Pluto. Okay, so that's what I wanted to see there, because I wanted to see, when I read these charts, I read them as far as like a storyline. I read them like if it's a movie. Okay, that's how my Mercury's in Pisces, so for me personally, I would be the director and just kind of directing the chart and how where it's going, how it ends, what's the plot twist, or what do I see here? That's how I see charts, okay? And that's because my Mercury's in Pisces, and Pisces has to do with Hollywood, filming, directing, and it's at a Leo degree to top it off. So, yeah. So, and it's retrograde as well. So it has to do with the past, okay? It has to do with the past. So I don't know. Maybe I was an actress, maybe in my past life or something. Because it's in retrograde, that means I've had to fix things of the past that have happened, and I can't seem to move forward until I fix that, or I release it, or I complete it. So anyway, I believe I completed it. So, but Banks, it is squaring Pluto. So when Banks is squaring, maybe I don't know personally because I'm not a banker, but there could be something pertaining to money when it comes to Banks, that's bringing a challenge to Pluto, which is wins and losses. Okay, and there could be challenges there with loss of money, when it comes to Banks. Okay, um, so that is where it is, and it has to do with Banks around the world at 9 degrees of travel. It might be, maybe you are traveling somewhere. I seen an article that it was the president of France. I think his name was um, I forgot his name. But he was traveling. I think he went to Syria or somewhere. Um, and that's a confirmation. I don't know where that came from. Um, oh, and so he was traveling somewhere. I think to Syria or something. And then there was these explosions or something. He was caught up in this middle of explosion and stuff. So I don't know. He was going to be dealing with banks or with money, anything internationally. And so I don't know if that's real or not, or what he experienced or not. I didn't even read the article, but I seen the title of it, something. I was digging some information on France, and I'll tell you guys in a bit why. But, um, then I seen that article. They say he was caught up in fires in France somewhere, as he was, no, somewhere, well, he is from France, but he was going to Syria. There was some kind of war going on. So right now, I would not recommend to travel, because there's fires everywhere. Okay, there was in Spain, now they're in France. I mean, they're everywhere, but it was expected, with Chiron and Taurus. Taurus has to do with land, it has to do with territory, it has to do with real estate. And in China is something that has to be healed. So, we were going to experience a lot of that around the world. We were going to hear about news of this explosion here, this volcano here. I mean, not only Hawaii volcanoes, but now they're showing eruptions like everywhere. That's why I like to follow people that report like solar flares and earthquakes and all of that, because it's important for us to know this. Not because it's like trauma or drama or anything like that, but you want to be aware of where the earthquakes are, um, because it's better for you to prepare, and just witness what is going on around the world. And even if you could pray for the world, you can minimize the energy. And there was an example there where we had to have an earthquake in Los Angeles and we did not have it. Okay. And I think it was because people gathered together and they prayed. And what happened is that we didn't get earthquakes. Okay. We can shift the energy if we come collectively and we become positive and we pray for peace, and we can prevent earthquakes like that happening, major earthquakes. Although there is one that is supposed to in San Francisco, okay, at the San Andreas Fault, that one is predicted. They say, eventually it's going to hit. We don't know when, but it's good to prepare and see what's going on. But we were supposed to have one, okay, with that Mars conjunct Uranus coming together in Gemini. It was crossing right through LA, okay? And so when it crosses right through the city of Los Angeles, there could have been a big one, okay? And we dodged it. And a lot of it's because we could change the frequency, and it's interesting because this was supposed to happen on the 4th of July, and it's interesting because there were people that went out on 4th of July. There were brave people and people that just stood home, and I was one of the brave ones. I said, I'm just going to take a risk. I'm going to go to the beach because they were having this big old, every year they have a big old fireworks show. And I decided to go, and, I went, and I noticed every year I go, I don't think I went last year, but the other 2 years I did go. And every time I go, it's so jam packed, like really packed. And there were a lot of people, okay, especially like a lot of Latinos and their families and kids and everything. But this year, for some reason, and it's a 250th anniversary of the United States, which a lot of people had to show up. And a lot of people did not show up. Okay, there were still a lot of people, don't get me wrong. But compared to other years, I was like, oh, wow. Like a lot of people didn't really show up like other years, right? And so I think there was this fear, because what happened, and I'm not saying they're all listening to me, you know what I mean? But they all know, they talk about it in the news, and so forth, that, everything that's going on around the world, they're getting influenced by, volcanoes, and now this here and this killing here, maybe they just got feared, but I do spread the word through my podcast in my community about, with maps. I share a lot of astro maps, and I know I have high influence, okay, here in my community, and maybe they follow me. Maybe I don't even know who's following me, to tell you the truth, but I know they do follow me, and they know that I'm an astrologer, and they know that, I say the truth, and I would just say the truth, I can't be 100% accurate, but, when you see something like that with Mars and Uranus crossing Los Angeles, you know, it's important to talk about it. It's important to say it. And I always say it's not for fear monger, it's for awareness. Okay. And it's good to know. But, I did a video where I said we need to become positive and minimize the energy and pray about it. And I think a lot of people prayed and just at home. But I noticed that in the beach, I was like, wow, it's not your usual, but there still was a lot of people. Okay, there still was a lot of people because there is this pizzeria, okay, that I was so hungry. I just left the house because I just didn't. It was like, I think it was like 7 o'clock. It was not gonna, the fireworks were not gonna blow up till 9 p.m. And I said, I better hurry up and just get over there, right? And so I just left the house, and luckily I took my line bike, okay, and I used one of those line bikes, and I got there like real fast, and so, but I noticed I was so hungry, and I was like, oh my gosh, the pizza looks so good. It was like the brick pizza, and then when I noticed I went there because I wanted to order one, and the man told me that it was a 45-minute wait, like for them to cook the pizzas. And I was like, 45 minutes. And then he showed me the long list of everybody that ordered pizzas. So he was in demand, Not only him, but also the ice cream cone man. And so forth. They sold like chips and stuff. So I just went there, But he told me he was in high demand, And after I ordered like because I was not going to wait 45 minutes, but that just told me there was enough people, because he was in demand for pizzas, and they were all ordering pizzas. And by the time, if I would have ordered a pizza, I had to wait like almost an hour just to get my pizza. By that time, the fireworks were going to be over. So I just went next door where they sell ice cream, and I just ordered some like nacho cheese or something. And I told the man, he was a Hispanic man, when I ordered my nachos, and I said, oh, he told me, oh, have a great day, And I told him, you too, have a great day. He said, oh yeah, I will. He said, I will, I am, And I'm like, I bet you are, right? You're in demand, He's like, oh yeah, like, because he had a big line as well. So there was a lot of people there, but not as much as I've seen other years. Okay. And not only that, I noticed another difference also, that it started a little bit late. I think it didn't start exactly at 9 o'clock. I think it was like 9:10, 9:15, around there. And they were not the normal fireworks that they always have every year. They were not like real. I mean, they were big fireworks, but before they're more like, oh, wow, like Disneyland kind of fireworks. And this time I didn't notice that, And then also towards the end of the fireworks show, and I'm not complaining, okay? I'm just communicating about this. I noticed a difference, It's kind of like, oh, let's just do the show and let's hurry up, because I think they also knew the energies, that they were potent. And, right before it ends, the fireworks show, usually what happens every year is that the fireworks that are up in the air, they will all clash together, and go, pa, 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 at one time, And that happens every year. And that's what makes it really exciting. Everybody's like, oh, wow, look at that. Oh, my God, Oh, and they're all clashing together, and with pretty colors and everything. Well, this year that didn't happen. So a lot of people were like, that's it. It was like the one large firecracker went up in the air, like a big old, like a big old circle of like fireworks show, just one circle like that, and then that's it. Like, that's it. And the interesting thing is that nobody clapped. It was so mysterious. Nobody clapped because we weren't thinking, that's it, it's over, And usually we know it's over when they all clash together and they all start popping, like really fast. But it was just one big circle, and then that's it. Nobody clapped, and everybody just grabbed their stuff and they just left. And it was weird. It was bizarre. I was like, what? This is the ending? Like, Oh, how boring, I was like, oh, this is disappointing, but I was like, whatever. But at least they gave us a little fireworks show, you know what I mean? So that was odd, So anyway, that's just my experience with the fireworks show there. I was expecting a little bit more extravagant, like every year, but it wasn't. So I think a lot of it has to do with the astrology, they didn't want to probably overindulge it or make it too big than, it should. I think our town is being a little bit more cautious, because, it is a rat city. Okay. And so, it doesn't get along with the horse year. And I think we're being just a little bit more cautious, and that's good. You know what I mean? You want to be cautious, especially, with events and so forth like that. There was a lot of police activity. I do have to say, a lot of security, a lot of police, and so that happens in port towns. Where there's major tourism and so forth. But overall, I got home right away. I mean, real quick. And just in time to see our community fireworks show, because that took about three hours, to obviously they had money to be blowing all those firecrackers. It was, but anyway, we all had fun and so forth. So the moon, so it's coming together. I mentioned it's coming together with Banks, and what is this other? Okay, that one doesn't matter, but so that's what's happening. And so the moon, squaring Jupiter, it's challenging Jupiter of being over the top at this moment. Okay. Jupiter, okay, and Jupiter in Leo is coming together. It's at 1 degree of Aries, and it's coming together with the asteroid of Fama. Okay. So Fama just jumped into Leo. Okay. And so it was in Cancer. Now it's in Leo. So that's huge, because Jupiter is already a big planet of over the top in Leo that has to do with entertaining and being visible and putting yourself out there. And now it's coming together with Fama in Leo. So even more so, a whole lot more people can get famous at this moment. I don't know why I'm hearing the word jealous. I'm hearing the word jealous is coming down. Okay. So that's what's going on there. I don't know why this one's not clicking here. Why is it staying stuck here? Okay, there it goes there. Why doesn't this want to click here? My computer's acting. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, well, it just does. What the hell? Wow, that is so weird. It's never done that before. See, there's a problem that's going on right now, because the moon in Taurus, okay, is squaring Jupiter, and it's also squaring Pluto in Aquarius. It has to do with technology. So don't be surprised if you have some technology issues. Don't be surprised if you lose some power. Don't be surprised if your computer is a little bit slower than usual, because that's what happens when Pluto's in Aquarius. Let me try to click it one more time here. Where did it go? Yeah, I just wanted to see what this asks. See, it does not want to click. Well, maybe it's not important to talk about that, right? Wow, you know what? Let me refresh it, because it bugs me. It really does. That it doesn't want to click on that asteroid. Why doesn't it want to click there? Whoops. Well, I guess it's not going to open then. It's not going to open. I just wanted to see what this asteroid was in the sign of Cancer. It's at 24 degrees of prophecy, but it doesn't want to click. You know what? Let me go here. See if I can see it over here. Figure out a way to do this. It's just bugging me a little bit that it doesn't want to click. I'm like, why? Why don't you want to open up? And it like I said, it's making a challenge to Aquarius and Pluto. Um, it's in the sign of Cancer, but um, oh wow, that's interesting. Wow. Okay, so where it did not want to click is the asteroid because I can't really see the asteroid unless I click it, because I have a lot of them. And they only have the symbol, that's it. But I don't know what asteroid it is until I click it. So now I found a way to go around it. And so the asteroid that did not want to click at the 24 degree of prophecy is the asteroid of Mexico. Okay. So it's in the sign of Cancer. And it's interesting that it's the asteroid of Mexico, okay, where it did not want to click. So let me try it, see one more time and see if it does. Nope, it's not going to want to. That is very rare. But I can look here in the list. Let me see. Okay, so what Jupiter is doing, check this out, Mexicans. Jupiter is conjuncting Mexico. Okay. Jupiter is conjuncting Mexico, and that's huge because we know Latino GDP here in the United States is really huge. It's 4.4 trillion. Okay. And just in Los Angeles alone, the contribution of Mexicans, and just in Los Angeles, okay, and that was a couple of years ago, it was $500 million a year. Okay. And this is just Los Angeles. It's not Arizona. It's not Texas. It's not San Francisco. It's not New York. There's not really that many Mexicans in New York, but um, Texas, Arizona, and California, huge, huge, huge. Latinos, Mexicans, and so forth. And it's a big contribution that we do. I mean, in Arizona, it was like, I think, like billions or not billions. I think the GDP over there was, well, I think it was already billions. It was a high number or very high in the millions. And that was just Arizona. Okay. And then you count Texas. Texas is huge also with Latinos. So, and then San Francisco, and then, but LA has a lot of Mexicans, and we do a lot of contribution to Los Angeles. But when you count the whole United States, it's 4.4 trillion. Okay. And so we're $1 trillion spenders, and it's huge. So it is a huge thing that Jupiter is coming together with Mexico. Okay. This asteroid, and see, try it again, and it's not. Okay, and there's something prophetic about it because the 24 degree has to do with prophecy, and it's a degree of Pisces. Okay, so maybe it pertains to some Pisces people that are Mexican, coming together with Jupiter in Leo, something to do, and with fama, with fame. Okay, so we're going to start seeing people start getting famous, start getting recognized. Okay, so pay attention to that. Yeah, it did not want to click, but I went around it because I knew it was important. I was like, why does it not want to click, right? So anyway, so that challenge there, it could just be over the top. It could be like the whole FIFA. It can be perceived as over the top. And I know I even say myself like, oh my gosh, can we just move on? It is a lot of entertaining, it is entertaining, but then, we're seeing a lot of fires as well, and, it's hard to be entertained when there's also fires going on around the world, when there's important matters that need to be had and need to be addressed and need to be taken care of, and then there's the other, section of people that are celebrating the FIFA and, you know, And, you know, for me, it's about being positive, being positive, celebrate, because that takes your worries away. That takes with everything that's going around. But you can't, you can't just ignore what's happening around the world. You know what I mean? Because especially with Aquarius and Pluto, it's about humanity. It's about caring for people, not ignoring people if somebody is hungry and, you have at least something to give them or buy them a sandwich or something, and you could just help that person. But I get it. I mean, I love partying. I love celebrating. I did my own celebration in Los Angeles as well, when Argentina was playing, and I went to several locations. I was kind of like bar hopping, and I had a good time. I was meeting people and talking to people and so forth. I really wanted to get out, and wanted to just travel somewhere and just meet people I've never seen before and so forth. That's what Gemini energy is. Okay, Uranus and I went during Uranus conjunct Mars. Okay, when that earthquake was supposed to hit LA, that's when I went to LA. I took a chance. I said, screw it. I'm just going to go. I have faith. And, in my mind, there's no earthquake, and I'm just going to go and have fun. And I had fun. And I'm so glad that I did not waste a lot of money, because I was like, I better be on my budget. But, when you're having fun, there goes one beer and two beers and three beers and the food and everything. But I'm so proud of myself that, I didn't go overboard. So that's a good thing. Um, but that is it's a challenge right now. You can overindulge with that Jupiter and Leo. I don't really see it as a bad thing with the moon in Taurus right now that is squaring Jupiter. Where I see it bad, it not bad. I mean, where I see it that it could be a problem for others is that you might be standing out a little bit more. But you know what? Who cares, right? If this is your moment to stand out, stand out. But also, understand that there are going to be other people like me wearing the glasses. Some people did not like it. You know what I mean? Or not that they didn't like it, but they had something snotty to say. You know what I mean? And that's okay. You're going to get that effect if you are wearing something where you're standing off. And it's okay. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? You only live once, right? But also, it's also, a time of setting some boundaries as well, because, there is a lot of things going on around the world. There is a lot of people that you can trigger people right now, and they might even want to hurt you, or they might even because you're showing off too much or something. So do understand the boundaries that you need to set. Um, whether it's too much showing off, or is it just for fun? What is it for? That's why you have to understand what you need to heal, because a lot of it can be over performance, because there's something that you want the world to know about you, of you look this way and now you're like this. And I've even had those type of situations where, I've wanted to prove myself that I've changed, and, I'm different now. and, and if I am, I think it's just keep it to myself. You know what I mean? I don't have to announce it out there. They'll notice if they'll notice, right? If there's a change or not, right? And I've noticed that as I evolved and as I grown, I know that I don't need to be showing off like that. But I do like to stand out. I do like to be in the light. I'm Jupiterian. And, there's nothing wrong with it, but just understand how other people are noticing you, right? How other people, take it. But put an example of J-Lo, right? J-Lo doesn't care what you think about her. Okay, Madonna. Let's talk about Madonna. Okay, she don't care what you think about her. I think she's like 67 or something. I don't know. I somewhere in her 60s, late 60s, and she's performing, and she has a different face. I don't know what happened. She looks way younger. She got surgery, plastic surgery or something, but she doesn't care. She's Madonna. So it just depends. The backlash, a lot of people are criticizing Madonna. Like, why is she still performing at her age? She's going to break her leg, or bones or something. And but she's still out there performing, right? And she doesn't care what you think about her. As long as she's making money, she doesn't care, right? So there could be a challenge just there, but maybe some overperformance or maybe some, you know, putting yourself out there too much, just shining too much, standing out too much. And with that square in Pluto over here, we have it in the 12th house. Okay. So the 12th house is like secrets, is mystery. It could be also hospitals and jails. Okay. And it's at 4 degrees. So we have 4 here, 4 degrees in retrograde. So this has to do anything with the past, pertaining to the past of where you've been, okay, and where you need to fix things, right? And in the 12th house, it's like skeletons in the closet, like it's things you hide. Maybe you're hiding out yourself too much, right? And you should be standing out. And so there's a challenge here with Taurus, with the moon in Taurus, with Chiron. And I feel that it's a challenge when it comes to transformation, because if you haven't healed your childhood wounds, let's say for example, your childhood wounds are that you feel abandoned, right? Maybe people abandoned you and you had to be independent, and the challenge here with this transformation in Aquarius, in the 12th house of not being seen, okay, it could pertain, I would say it pertains to a mother, okay, a mother figure, or females around you that are Taurus, okay, and it's bringing a challenge with how you transform yourself, and maybe they want to hide you out, okay, because the 12th house is about hiding, like boxing you in, hiding you, saying you can't go there, um, and you got to transform, right? You got to stand up, or put on a sweater. You're showing too much skin, or something like that, or, you know, I don't know. It's something to do with, because confinements in jails and hospitals. What do? They're isolated, right? I don't like the 12th house at all. Okay, it's a Pisces house, and it's a martyr house. It's asylums and jails and hospitals, and where you go heal is also your subconscious, okay, of how you think. And because it's in retrograde, we're doing a lot of thinking of what? The past. Okay. So we're doing a lot of thinking of the past, and that's bringing a challenge, okay, with how you heal with the moon. Maybe you have to heal with the mother or female figures around you, or business people, or in around the real estate or in the environment where you live, when it comes to communication, because it's in the third house, okay? And it's something that you're communicating that you need to heal, and is bringing a challenge of some sort of transformation that needs to be quiet, right? Maybe you don't, maybe you said something you shouldn't have said something, and I have to say that I said something that, well, I didn't say something. I was just talking about like numerology and stuff like that. And maybe I said a little bit too much. I shouldn't have said a lot, but it's not bad. I just said that my mom's a tiger, and she is a 5, and 5s are known for being lucky and being beautiful, because I'm a 5 this year in numerology. And it just reminded me of my mother. She was born a 5, but every year we have a different personal number. So my personal number this year is a 5, which means that this year, and that's only because I've been winning the lotto, okay? Not a lot, but I get happy every time I win, and I don't play a lot, okay? Especially super lotto, it's only $1, you know. And so, but the Mega Millions is like $5 a ticket, and that's the one I won. I won like $15, and I only bought one ticket. One ticket that cost me $5, and I won $15. So I got excited. I was like, "Woo!" It's not about the money. Well, it would if it'd be a lot, but it's more for me. It's more about my luck and how it's changing. And that is a wonderful thing for me. I get happy. And so it could be something to do with, maybe you said something you shouldn't have said, or, you should kind of keep it more private, like family matters and things like that, or money or whatever. I just like to inspire people. I'm not trying to show off or nothing like that. I get excited because I win. Who doesn't get excited? You go to the casinos and you win money, you're excited, right? I don't know. I'm hearing passport. I'm hearing something about a passport. I'm hearing you have to renew your passport. Yeah, I know. Who knows that information? Because I was, it's just I know it's my angels, it's my family, my ancestors. Um, that's so weird, right? That I'm hearing that. Mm. I do. It's expired, and only my family knows that. But anyway, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but yeah, it is expired. I haven't not renewed it from, oh my gosh, more than 20 years. And I do need to renew it because I do want to travel. I love traveling. I want to go to Greece. I do want to go to Mexico City. I do. I want to be brave enough and go there. And I wanted to go to Jalisco, but it's a little bit, I don't know about that. There's a big old question mark there. I wanted to hop on the Cuervo train. Like there's a train you get on and then you take a tequila tour. Um, I've been wanting to do that, but I don't know. It just depends. Depends what's going on down there. But Mexico City, totally, I would go. I would go to Mexico City just to travel for like 3 days or something. Go on a hot air balloon, which I didn't even know they had that there. I was like, how weird, you know. But I had a dream that I hopped on a hot air balloon and I flew up in the air. But I didn't know where it was. In my dream, I had no idea where it was. And then I'm finding out that in Mexico City, they have hot air balloon rides. So I was like, wow, maybe I should go there, you know? But yeah, I do want to travel to a lot of places. I do want to go to New York, never been to New York, and, hopefully, God willing, that happens. And um, maybe not this year, but maybe next year or then other following year or something. I've been wanting to go to maybe a baseball game, go see the Yankees or something. I don't know, but there's a lot of places that I want to go, to travel, and I do have to renew my passport, definitely. So right now, you know, the moon right now is bringing a challenge to the 12th house of maybe you're just too much indoors, and the challenge is that you got to travel because Aquarius has to do with airplanes. Aquarius has to do with helicopters and airplanes and travel. It's not just Sagittarius. Okay, Sagittarius is known for the world traveler, right? But Aquarius also because it rules airplanes, it rules the air. There's a lot of travel with Aquarius, and we're going to start seeing a lot of that. Okay, a lot of people traveling, a lot of people moving, especially right now that is making a trine with Uranus and Gemini that has to do with people. So a lot of people, there's going to be a lot of moving around, a lot of traveling, a lot of young people, a lot of events and so forth, but also a lot of chaotic things happening like volcanoes, eruptions, and fires and so forth. So you have to be very careful where you travel. Make sure you are aligned, right? This is why I share the maps of what's happening currently right now in that area. Or if you do travel, you can go to my website at www.starzenith33.com and you get a reading there if you're planning to travel to a location. We could do a reading and look at how the frequency is there for you based on your natal chart. And we compare both charts, okay, of where you're going and so forth, and overlap it with the astrology as well, and all of that. Um, just a lot of information there, before you plan. So, we get our passport and we plan our itinerary, but we never plan to see what the frequency is going to be like at that location, right? And we got to be safe and not overly safe, but you want to be safe. You don't want to go to a country and then they're throwing cannonballs down there. You know what I mean? You want to, have a good time. You don't want to worry if somebody's going to steal your wallet or you're going to end up in jail or something like that because those things are happening, right? And so you want to be safe. You don't want to be like Kim Kardashian, right? She went to Paris and I don't know if it's true or not, but she said she had a scare and she was showing off her jewelry and they almost, well, I think they almost abducted her or something like that. They almost raped her or something like that. And in France, in Paris, because she was showing a lot of jewelry and they knew where her hotel was and everything. they broke in her hotel and they stole all of that, and she got a big scare ever since then. I could just imagine returning back to Paris. um, I noticed I seen someone, she went to Monaco for the racing car for her boyfriend, and she looked kind of like nervous. She didn't seem herself. She kind of seemed like she was looking like back and looking sideways, and like she looked very nervous. She was just not comfortable. And Monaco is right next to Paris, so it's just right next door. And that's maybe she does not get along with. Not that she doesn't get along. Maybe she's not aligned. She's not aligned probably with Monaco or Paris. There could be many many things happening. Okay. It's not just a natal chart. It could be just transits and everything. But maybe at that time, there was something happening also with the astrology, you know, that was not aligned with Paris at that time. And that could happen. Okay. And that's when bad luck comes in. So, anyway, I am going to end it here because I have to jump on the Spanish one as well. And just wanted to talk about, I do want to say that the moon right now, it is coming together with part of fortune in Taurus. Okay. So it's a really good time right now to communicate. It's at 3 degrees of communication. So that's a good thing. Okay. Part of fortune and the moon. Okay. In Taurus. Okay. That has to do with anything with communication and real estate or your environment, and your home and so forth. It's a really great thing right now. So anyway, if you guys enjoy this episode, do like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends and family about this, because I think when we all know the frequencies of the day or the week, we can make better decisions and we can feel safer and feel more confident and aligned, okay, with the frequencies. And yeah. So, anyway, I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a good day.